Okay, so, um, I've seen only one nominee article today. I'm pretty sure there was like 4 confirmation hearings, but I'm only seeing one for Treasury Secretary, and that is Scott Bessart. And let's just get to the title. Treasury nominee calls for stronger Russia sanctions and Fed independence at confirmation panel. So, sounds pretty good so far. Not sure what Fed independence means, but let's find out. U.S. Treasury nominee Scott Bessart on Thursday faced sharp questions from both Democrats and Republicans on tax policy, tariffs, China, Russia sanctions, and the future of an IRS tax filing system that Republicans have called to be cut. And in turn, Bessart defended a what the heck? Defended of President-elect Donald Trump's economic policies and proposals. Okay, there is a word that shouldn't be there. All right. Bessant sat in front of the Senate Finance Committee for his confirmation hearing, where he told lawmakers that the U.S. faces economic calamity if Congress does not renew provisions of Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. He also asserted the Federal Reserve should remain independent from the president's influence, and U.S. sanctions on Russian oil should be more aggressive. So, sounds good so far. I'm not sure what Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is. I know he wants to give tax cut to billionaires, but beyond that, don't know. He was introduced by a fellow South Carolinian Republican Senator, Lindsey Graham, who said the U.S. needs a Treasury Secretary who knows what he's doing, has the trust of the president, and loves his country. Graham added, "Your ship came in with this guy." But Democrats, including Senators Ron Wyden of Oregon and Michael Bennet of Colorado, expressed frustration that Trump's promise to extend provisions of his 2017 tax cuts would benefit the wealthiest taxpayers. Well, there's a shock. And add to the growing national debt that has surpassed $36 trillion, which is why Trump was trying to get the Republicans to suspend the debt ceiling completely. Just remove it so he could raise the national debt as much as his little heart wants. Bennett assailed Bessant for shredding crocodile tears over the debt and spending, while the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act drove up the debt. There's so many things I think you owe the American people after we have seen the catastrophe from the tax cuts. Bessant is a billionaire who, before becoming a Trump donor and advisor, donated to various Democratic causes in the early 2000s, notably Al Gore's presidential run. He also worked for George Soros, a major supporter of Democrats. So I guess the fact that he gave money to Trump was all Trump needed to completely forget that part. Because George Soros is the boogeyman of the Republican Party. Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin also probed Bessant with questions about bringing national spending down to pre-pandemic levels. In his testimony, Bessant committed to maintaining the IRS's direct file program, which allows taxpayers to file their returns directly to the IRS for free, at least for the 2025 tax season, which begins January 27th. Republican lawmakers say the program is a waste of money because free filing programs already exist, although they are not popular. He also called for stronger sanctions on Russia, saying the Biden administration's sanctions regime isn't muscular enough. I believe the previous administration was worried about raising U.S. energy prices during an election season, he said. Bessant was one of several people Trump considered for the position. Trump took his time before settling on Bessant as his nominee. He also mulled over billionaire investor John Paulson and Howard Lutnick, whom Trump tapped as his nominee for Commerce Secretary. I don't know how much oil and gas we get from Russia. So I'm not entirely sure that that's the reason. I think it's more of the Biden administration is afraid of Putin going completely crazy and actually going to war if too much sanctions. I don't know. I don't know what they were worried about. The Treasury Secretary is responsible for serving as the President's fiscal policy advisor and managing the public debt. He would also be a member of the President's National Economic Council. If confirmed, Bessant will oversee massive agencies within the Treasury Department, including the Internal Revenue Service. The IRS received a massive boost in funding from Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act, though that money has been in constant threat of being cut. Right, because, we don't want billionaire tax cheats actually paying taxes or something. Trump expects him to help reset the global trade order, enable trillions of dollars in tax cuts, ensure inflation stays in check, managing a ballooning national debt, and still keep the financial markets confident. And how is he supposed to do all that when you threaten tariffs on everybody? Productive investment that grows the economy must be prioritized over wasteful spending that drives inflation, Bessant testified. Are we talking about trickle-down economics? Is that what he's talking about? I don't know. Senators questioned the money manager for more than 3 hours on his views on the Trump-era tax cuts, tariffs, China, and potential conflicts of interest. Senator Elizabeth Warren, a Democrat from Massachusetts, a member of the Finance Committee, sent Bessant more than 100 written questions in advance, interrogating him on such topics as agency independence, housing, Treasury workforce issues, and financial stability oversight. In addition, Democrats on the Senate Finance Committee have circulated a document that alleges Bessant has avoided paying roughly $1 million in taxes related to his hedge fund. Wait, a hedge fund manager who doesn't pay taxes? Oh, wow. During the hearing, Bessant said he is up to date on his taxes and litigating the portion of his taxes in controversy. He also committed to shutting his firm if confirmed to be Treasury Secretary. Well, we'll see, won't we? Bessant has backed extending provisions of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which Trump signed into law in his first year in office. Probably the part where he doesn't have to pay any more taxes. Estimates from various economic analysis of the costs of the various tax cuts range from nearly $6 trillion to $10 trillion over 10 years. He calls for spending cuts and shifts in existing taxes to offset the costs that extending the tax cuts would add to the federal deficit. And I'm sure that all of those will affect the billionaire class. Sure. So that is the end of that article. And I really don't have much to add to this because I don't have enough knowledge about this position to say much more. Just that He's a billionaire who wants to keep his money and make those who aren't billionaires pay more so he can keep his billions. Beyond that, I really don't know much about him. So, with that, I will see you guys in the next video.